back here today to talk to you about some poison safety and medicine safety. And I think this is a great time of the year to talk about this because we're getting into our Thanksgiving breaks and our Christmas breaks. And for a lot of us, that means we're traveling and we're going to be going to the grandparents and places like that where they have poisons and they have medicines. And keep in mind, for a lot of the grandparents out there, they're no longer used to having children in the home every day. So sometimes we get a little lax and we're not necessarily locking up or keeping these medicines and poisons out of reach because we're not used to having small children. Well, they're coming this holiday season. So as a reminder, talk to your kids because I teach these classes all the time and remind them that yes, this may be water and it's crystal clear, but it doesn't mean that everything that comes in a bottle is always water if it's crystal clear, because we have Windex or like an everyday cleanser or vinegar, but they're clear just like the water. And you'll see as we get into this that for many of us, these poisons are kept where kids can easily reach them, and we don't always think about it. And for a lot of our homes, if you open up that cabinet that sits directly underneath the kitchen sink, there they are. So we need to do a great job as parents making sure that we're keeping our children safe. Another example, my label's worn off a little bit, but this has a picture of a lemon on it. Many kindergarten kids will guess that this is lemonade. It's not. It's ammonia. Think about how hazardous that could be if your kid actually drank that. And for a lot of these, by the way, they don't even come with a childproof cap. You spin this right off, you pull off this little sticky label here once, and boom, it's there. And any kid can actually get into this stuff. The fact that a bottle of juice that they are allowed to have may look an awful lot like laundry detergent, things of that nature. Here's another one, the Tide Pods, for example. This was big time in the news a few years ago where kids were purposely swallowing these things to see what would happen. And many of them ended up in hospital emergency rooms. So you've got the soap, the poison, and it's actually wrapped up into clear plastic, which is a choking hazard. If we leave this somewhere where a child can get hold of it and they swallow this, we're going to be making a trip over our holiday break to the emergency room, and we don't want that. Bug spray. Many of us have bug spray, but we don't all keep it locked up or up high out of reach of children. We don't think about it all the time. But if a kid got hold of this and sprayed this accidentally into their eyes, you can imagine how much that is going to burn, probably about as bad as what my pepper spray does. Apple juice, it's brown, it's orange, it's copper colored. But, so is oil soap, like Pine Sol or Old English, right? And it looks like, it's almost like something you could buy inside of a Sheetz or a Speedway as an apple juice bottle, okay? But obviously, it's not. So what we need to do is make sure that we're keeping these poisons out of reach of kids, educating them, putting stickers on them, the old skull with the crossbones or the poison labels to remind kids that if it's got that on there, do not touch it. And then we move on to our medicines. Every one of us has like the Tylenol and the ibuprofens and those kinds of things. Please make sure, as a reminder, that we're not leaving these on kitchen countertops or bathroom sink areas. Again, up high and out of reach of children. Our vitamins, for example, we make vitamins in the form of and the shape of and even call them gummies. But to me, gummies are a candy, and that's what most kids guess when I ask them that. But these are actually vitamins. If you take too many vitamins, it can hurt you, and it could cause us to make an unwanted trip to the emergency room. Again, going to grandparents' houses. My parents were guilty of this. They'd have their daily medication, and they would not have it in a bottle. They'd sit it out on a kitchen countertop somewhere as a reminder to take it later in the day. And I'm like, you can't do that. You have to leave it in that childproof cap bottle of medicine so that the kids don't get into it. And why is that especially? Because when I teach a lot of trick-or-treat safety, I remind kids all the time that a lot of candy looks like medicine. Very often, pills, medicine looks a lot like M&Ms and Skittles and Tic Tacs and Sweet Tarts and Mike and Ike's and Jelly Beans and on and on and on. And they can be very hard to tell apart. That's why we check our trick-or-treat candy before they eat it. So yeah, I can tell you this is a mixture of M&Ms and Skittles, and it is. But if you saw this on the ground and it wasn't in a bottle or package, would a child know that this was a gummy bear candy as opposed to a gummy bear vitamin? No, they probably would not. Or this, is this medicine or is it a Tic Tac? And most kids, when I ask that question, will guess that this is medicine. It looks like a Tylenol. It's not. It's actually a Tic Tac. Or then lastly, this one. Is this, most kids will guess a combination of turtle food, hamster food, fish food, something like that. It's not. It's actually rat poison. Imagine a kid eating this because it got spilled in the corner of a garage somewhere or something like that. So as we protect our own homes and we think about traveling to grandmas and grandpas, just make sure we're all working together to basically childproof these homes. And that includes making sure we keep all poisons and medicines up high, locked up, or out of the reach of children. So as we protect our own homes, and we think about traveling to grandmas and grandpas, just make sure we're all working together to basically childproof these homes. And that includes making sure we keep all poisons and medicines up high, locked up, or out of the reach of children.